we got a new Veracity magazine video and change of scene. My grandparents are going to Washington for a few months to my parents and my family, my brothers. So I moved into my grandparents' place, which is quite awesome. This is a 3-bedroom for myself. The last one, it's much bigger than my last place, so I have a bigger space to shoot. I'm shooting in the living room. I used to shoot in the small bedroom. So if you see my previous video with the orange wall, when I first started reacting to like Jungkook videos, like the earlier videos that you see with the orange wall, that's in the small bedroom. Now I'm shooting in the living room. And Taki also found her spot. She's sleeping right next to me. If you guys don't know, I have a cat, which is my buddy. I don't feel lonely. I don't get scared in this 3-bedroom apartment because I have Taki here. It's my cat. It's my cute little cat. So this is performance versus artists, BTS, the K-pop framework, and the mainstream music industry. Performers versus artists. Yeah, artists in terms of like BTS, people who create something original. Performance is trying to fit. For me, like performer criteria, the definition of it is like you're trying to fit a certain type of trend in order to get liked, right? You're not being your authentic yourself. You're performing to be someone that is going to be liked. That's a performer to me, like a fake performer, not in terms of like dancer, but performer artist, like performer idol is like that person is faking their entire personality in order to be liked by the mass. So it's quite a sad life to live,
entertainer, singer, musical act. These words are mostly used interchangeably by music listeners, and because of that, conversations related to these terms get a little intense. Every conversation about this is basically a debate about definitions and specifications. For example, a musician is someone who creates music. A musician is someone who plays music. Or is a musician someone who engages in any kind of musical activity, whether it's singing, playing an instrument, or making songs? What about a performer? A performer is someone who entertains people by acting, singing, dancing, or playing music. But not every entertainer is a performer, or are they? And what about people known by their strong performing abilities, but not really by extraordinary live vocals? Is singing live essential to be a performer? What about an artist, in the musical sense of the word? Is a musical artist any type of person who brings music to an audience? Or is a musical artist someone who makes musical art, aka music, by composing, interpreting, and performing? Can a performer...
People usually like artists in terms of that's a lot more higher criteria, right? When you see somebody who's like a good singer, you think, oh, that person like makes really good music. But when you see somebody that like you love, BTS, you say, oh, they're artists. Like they are artists. And for me, that's like original thinkers, original people. Authentic. They're authentic themselves, therefore they're artists, and they try to do something authentic.
Not a songwriter, but instead a singer and interpreter, also be considered an artist. The specifications of all of these words made this video too difficult to write, because I'm scared of not clarifying every time I say these words, and that is just not ideal. But at the end of the day, I think we can all distinguish that people who bring music to an audience can do so in different ways. And whether you want to call them musicians, artists, or my favorite neutral term, musical acts, I believe that pointing out their differences is not a hateful thing to do. But of course, K-pop is such an interesting and unique world. And mentioning what these musical acts do and don't do can be seen as insulting, even when we're talking about the most basic truths. My channel is about BTS and everything that surrounds them. And one common topic on my channel, as well as K-pop spaces in general, is why BTS? Why are they the biggest to come from the K-pop industry? More importantly, why do the biggest acts in the history of K-pop before or after BTS were and continue to be unable to go mainstream and or be considered serious artists? Of course, there are a lot of factors.
I'm gonna try to preempt that question with my own conclusion, which is BTS is, again, they're artists, they're authentic, they make their own music, and other K-pop idols, not much I have seen just from the outside, stereotypically, they follow a certain narrative. Whatever that is trending at that time, they follow that narrative. Like now it's, I think for other groups, it's trendy to be like BTS. It's trendy to be like certain groups. If you're a female group, you're probably following, I don't know, certain, like Blackpink, that's the name I know. And if you're a newly fresh female idol, you probably follow them. If you're a male idols, or I think everybody's probably just trying to follow BTS's footsteps, trying to go mainstream, but they're not authentically themselves. BTS is authentic. They're authentic to their own personalities. And you can see it. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Now, actually, I've gotten exposure to different type of like bands that I've seen on TikTok, and like not famous groups. Like, I've seen small little groups. I don't recognize their faces. Like smaller groups, much younger. And I've seen a few of their interviews. I don't know, something about it seems fake to me sometimes. Like the way they answer the questions on interviews, the way they talk is just like, it seems a little bit like robotic and AI-ish. With BTS, it just seems so genuine and authentic, and I think that's the differentiation. And whenever the group is following a trend, whatever is famous at that time, trying to follow the mass, you're never gonna be like artists. You're never gonna be BTS. If hopefully in the future, like, there is gonna be the next generation who's gonna be like mainstream one day, and I think they're gonna be authentic like BTS to themselves though.
And
they're not BTS, they're gonna be authentic to their own personalities.
The difference between being a performer and an artist is one of the most sensitive factors for K-pop fans, because saying that the only real artists in an industry full of performers are BTS sounds too snobbish. It sounds too extreme, and it sounds like the opinion of someone with tunnel vision. I'm not here to argue that. I do not believe that BTS are the only ones in the K-pop industry who are more than just performers or interpreters. Musical talent is expressed and can be perceived in so many different ways. What I do argue is that the musical artistry BTS does is mostly different from the musical artistry that K-pop groups do. It's not unrelated, but it's not the same. And yes, I do believe that all K-pop acts do the same kind of musical artistry, not the same kind of musical genre or concept, but they all express themselves musically the same way. Even the most rebellious and innovative K-pop acts maintain the status quo overall.
성이 중시되지 않는 사회라고 생각하거든요. 그런 부분들이 조금 과하다고 말하면 과할 수 있는 거죠.
And I believe that aside from personality, talent, relatability, and the underdog story, the type of artistry BTS does, which is different from the norm, is one of the reasons why BTS became truly mainstream. It doesn't matter if you think an artist is any musical act, or if you think an artist is someone who makes music and musical performances at a certain standard that is considered art. The type of musical artistry BTS does is being held to a different and more complex standard than the majority of K-pop, by the general public, by fans, and by BTS themselves. Whether you like this second definition of artist or not, BTS is being constantly associated and judged to the standards of that definition. In other words, as soon as anyone analyzes them for real, it feels easy and natural to consider BTS artists. But that doesn't happen with K-pop acts. They can be considered every other title, as well as artists, as long as it's from the first definition. This sounds harsh, but it really shouldn't be. This is the reality for a lot of musical spheres, not just K-pop. So let's clarify what this.
Where was this from? That's
for
so
a
cool.
lot of musical spheres, not
Literally Jack in the Box.
just K-pop. So let's clarify what this means. The list I mentioned at the beginning included the terms artist, performer, entertainer, musical act, singer, and musician. In K-pop, a musical act is usually called an idol, and this term can be used interchangeably with all of these terms, but it also comes with its own definitions and rules. Of course, we can debate the specifics of the definition, but just to have an idea, the most popular and basic definition cited to Routledge Handbook of Celebrity Studies, the New York Times, the New Yorker, and Hong Kong University Press, I would say it's pretty accurate. An idol refers to a type of celebrity working in the field of K-pop in fandom culture in South Korea, either as a member of a group or as a solo act. K-pop idols are characterized by the highly manufactured star system that they are produced by and debuted under, as well as their tendency to represent a hybridized convergence of visuals, music, fashion, and dance. They usually work for a mainstream entertainment agency and have undergone extensive training in dance, vocals, and foreign language. Idols maintain a carefully curated public image and social media presence, and dedicate.
That was the differentiation for me. Idols maintain a certain image, Right? Idols maintain a carefully curated public image and a social media presence. Carefully curated public image and social media presence. It was an image that was created for them, and they need to fit that standard constantly. And what differentiates good groups and BTS is they're not trying to fit that image. It's them. It's authentically them.
Maintain a carefully curated public image and social media presence, and dedicate significant time and resources to building relationships with fans through concerts and meetups. Now, I know that some K-pop fans would say that an idol is just an artist part of the K-pop industry. The same way a lot of people would refer to any of these terms loosely. It's all
Also, I wondered about how many of the idols and groups actually like their fans. Like genuinely, like, you know what I mean? Like love their fans genuinely, not because they're profiting off of it, not because that is like a role for an idol to do. There's got to be a lot of them got to be fakers too. I mean, they wanted to be an idol, and there's got to be a certain kind of a personality in order to wanting to become an idol. And then from then on, it's like, who does actually like the fans, or is it just somebody? Fans are just, they see them as like profit, or that's just like something, a certain kind of a tool that makes them famous and that makes them feel good. I think you can tell though. You can tell who's really authentic or not from the way they speak, from the way they interact, if they're doing a certain kind of a speech. When a real emotion is involved, you can clearly identify it based on your like EQ.
Hey, if you want to watch full uncut reactions, click the link in the description for Patreon. Sometimes I have to edit the video a little bit, like I'll add a black screen or I'll change the audio a little bit. So if you want to watch full uncut, unedited video, click the link in the description for Patreon. Plus, you get added benefits like exclusive song reactions. Sometimes I'll react to albums, I'll react to concerts and eliminate 1 or 2 songs, which will be exclusive on Patreon.
it's not that deep, they would say. But I think the majority of K-pop fans would agree that this is the general basis for being a K-pop idol. Sure, there may be an idol who has a less curated image, and another idol who works for their own entertainment agency, and another idol who doesn't care about fashion, and another idol who doesn't dance at all. But at the end of the day, these are the overall rules. These rules create a very strict artistic framework that is very hard to break away from. Before I explain the K-pop framework, I want to clarify that not every Korean musical act is K-pop. Just like in other parts of the world, there are Korean singers who make popular music, but not every Korean pop singer is a K-pop idol. To be a K-pop idol, they have to be trained by the K-pop training system, be signed to a K-pop label, participate in K-pop events, and overall follow the structure and rules of the K-pop framework. I believe that the easiest way to recognize this framework is by watching K-pop music shows. K-pop music shows are a staple in K-pop, and here you can see it best. What you notice first is the loud, amazing visuals, the fashion, style, aesthetics, and beauty of the idols. This is so important that most times the idols pose to the camera before they start singing. I've seen live performances with introductions of minutes of just posing to the camera before I listen to the song. Idols also pose at the end of the performance. The second most shocking thing—
what that represents is like their image and visuals are important factor of the performance. And if it was just about the performance, it would just come out and they would do the dance and the singing. But their visuals, who they are, that's also a huge part of the performance, just based on how you look and the aesthetics of the stage and what clothes you're wearing and how makeup
which
you
is
look,
more
how
than
good you
just
look.
a dance choreography. These idols have practiced very hard to put on a performance, and you notice it in the smallest details. Communication with the public, or mostly the camera, and facial expressions are also part of the choreography. Even the casual wink is rehearsed. The fans also synchronize with the idols by chanting their names.
I didn't even think about that. You know, that the wink they gave of the girl, the posing in front of the camera, she was directly looking at the camera, and they knew, okay, if I do this type of move in this type of scene, it is most likely to go like viral in the fan group. And if something hits, it could also go famous on TikTok and Instagram. They probably think about that too. It might not be from the idols. It might be like something the representative group had have told them, right? You have to do something catchy in the scene so it can, you know, create something viral moment. They also think about that too. I just realized that when I
only
saw
parts
those
of the
links, it
song
was so
in an
rehearsed.
organized way, creating an overall synchronized performance.
Looking as you go.
The fansions are a part of the third element, which is what you hear, the music and the vocals. Although these are considered live performances, K-pop music shows and K-pop live performances in general are known for having a very loud and consistent backtrack. Depending on the moves of the choreography, the idol will play back or sing on top of the backtrack.
Yeah, definitely.
The reason for a backtrack is a strong one. K-pop choreographies are so specific,
yeah, you gotta be out of
technical,
breath.
and intense that K-pop idols are more justified than other performers for having a backtrack overpowering their live vocals. So with a backtrack, the idol can choose when to sing live on top of their own pre-recorded vocals and when to playback, while fans buy the overall illusion, because whether they are singing or not, their mics are on. We can listen to the actual microphone hitting the idol's face or jewelry, for example. This feels more real than the obvious playback, especially for K-pop fans who are used to this type of performances. But for someone who is new or unfamiliar with the way things work in K-pop, the lack of raw vocals are very obvious and off-putting. So an amazing K-pop performance for a K-pop fan can feel disingenuous, off-putting, and the complete opposite of a spontaneous and real for the mainstream public. It doesn't matter if this audience is the global mainstream public or the Korean public who prefers non-K-pop pop music. With BTS's entrance to the mainstream music industry, which I'll talk about later, other musical factors are now at least talked about. Songwriting, raw vocals, and relatable personalities are a little more present in K-pop. But again, there is a void in the musical aspect. This doesn't mean that every K-pop song is bad or that every K-pop act lacks natural, spontaneous stage presence, but there usually is a lack of connection between the music and the musical act. In a way, non-K-pop listeners perceive the musical expression of an artist as the artist's personality. Whether they wrote their songs or not, their music is their self-expression. It's who they are. You feel that. You see that it makes sense. But when a K-pop act's artistic direction is all over the place, and also when you see that outside of the stage, the performer would never say or come up with what they sing in their songs, then the artistic connection is not there. If the performance
You get
is
the feeling of fakeness, right? And like, what BTS stands out for is not being fake, like authentic. That was reiterated quite often from me and from her. And you see it in Western artists too. Most famous ones, it's their whole personality. Like that was a good example of Tyler the Creator. When you see Tyler the Creator, the music he's making, it's so different, and his personality is like that too. So it's his own self-expression.
I may even believe you when you're on stage, but I believe that that is an act, not you. That is why the ultimate musical expression of a K-pop act is to be a performer and interpreter. To become the complicated second definition of artist, the K-pop act would have to break the barriers of the K-pop framework. They would have to go against the rules of the industry that made them. And in such a controlled industry, that just doesn't happen. I want to clarify that being only a performer is not a bad thing. Like this random comment I found says, ballet dancers don't choreograph their own dances. Opera singers don't write their own operas. Actors don't write and direct their own performances. Like in K-pop, there are exceptions, but these arts are not really about that. These arts are about the artistic talent and training. When I perceive it like this, I can appreciate K-pop performers a lot more. Performing and showcasing an image are art forms. Calling someone a performer is a compliment because performing is difficult. And actually, the general public usually associates performing with putting on a show. Musical acts who lack depth, intent, star power, practice, and intensity are called out for not being performers. The general public complains. They are not performing, they are just standing there singing. As opposed to phrases like, they are a full-on performer. That is how you put on a show. So to be a good artistic K-pop idol is to be a good performer. I personally love a lot of performers and interpreters, and I believe that the global general public does as well. as long as the performer puts on stage a powerful performance, as long as the interpreter interprets something. In such an oversaturated and
I
repetitive
think what it can also be said is there's nothing bad being a performer. And it's also dependent on you as a viewer if you should enjoy or not necessarily criticize. If you know they're performing, it is a performance and you enjoy it as a performance. If you don't like it, you don't have to criticize it. And it's for you, what should you enjoy as a viewer, and that's it.
industry, it's normal to see bad performers. If you're just giving cute or pretty, it does feel empty and boring. But even if a performance is not boring, I believe that one of the main reasons why K-pop's growth continues declining globally is because the mainstream general public is hesitant to accept a music industry in which music as a personal expression is not the priority. Even if it's the most machine-made electropop song, it has to feel like it belongs to the artist. But the K-pop system itself prevents this from happening. The good and unique performers, vocalists, or songwriters willing to make music their personal expression are hard to find because they are usually...
Ooh, that's why also people don't necessarily can isolate certain members too. A lot of new people that I show, like a lot of the friends, they don't listen to any type of Korean music, right? Whether it's BTS, Blackpink, they don't know anything. So I'll play a BTS song in the gym and like I'll have a big TV and they'll see the performance, right? They can't necessarily tell who is who, who's what, and this is happening. And I showed them quite a few times. They still don't know. And that happens with BTS. Now, when I watch like new members, new groups, it's really hard to distinctly tell who's who, who's what, even after watching quite a few times, because it's just lack of individuality between the members too. Now I've seen BTS, like, oh, how authentic they are and the individuals, like, it stands out. For me, other groups, the smaller groups that I've seen on TikTok, man, it's so hard to identify. Even on interviews, some of them just, when they're speaking, it lacks individuality. Like the smaller groups that I've seen, I don't even remember their name. I just saw a few on TikTok. And for me, something was super off-putting because it seemed fake to me.
Member hidden in a big group, hidden in an industry with more groups doing the exact same type of performance. Yes, cute, sexy, and badass are different K-pop concepts, but I'll continue seeing them again and again and again in the exact same format. So what makes any K-pop group special? I believe that the K-pop industry, along with its framework and rules, are fundamentally designed to fail in the mainstream music industry. But so are ballet, opera, and musical theater. That doesn't make them less. That makes them their own unique world with its own rules and ways of appreciating. For example, for me, one of the most off-putting factors from K-pop performances is the lack of the idol's connection to the audience. Not the camera, but the actual people there, looking at the performance. I can totally excuse and even like when idols pretty much ignore the audience in K-pop shows. But festivals and concerts are about people. And I've seen way too many performances where the idols don't connect with the people there. They are still performing for a camera, whether it is imaginary or not. They are so used to being in or out of frame that when it's their turn to not be on camera, they forget that in a festival, I can still see them. The little lazy waves used to infuriate me.
Also, I think a lot connects about like fans too. Which groups I genuinely love their fans. Now I'm starting to realize, because I was so blindsided by BTS, right? I would watch Veracity magazine videos, but that was it. I don't consume any other K-pop content. Now I'm starting to watch other good groups too. Like I've realized there are also other good groups other than BTS with Stray Kids, and I genuinely find them really interesting too. And then I've seen now my TikTok and Instagram pages starting to be filled with certain type of like performances on stage and certain kind of like TikTok edits. And then I would watch like, oh, what kind of group is this? Or like I will see like a girl group, they look pretty, and I'll go on YouTube and I'll watch them. Man, I've seen like few just like, for me, it felt like just out of pure emotions, they don't like their fans that much. They just don't. I felt it from different groups. And I just, yeah, I think if you genuinely love your friends and you're performing at a concert and you see like fans screaming out your name and they're singing their songs with passion, if you love your friends, how can you not see that and just like feel this like freaking passion inside your heart is burning, like you want to like cry on stage like BTS does, and like, you want to scream at them. Like I think from there you can see like huge love for their fans. For BTS groups and artists, for me, for some reason, that's so important. It seems genuine. It seems humble when they love their fans, because they know, like, okay, without the fans, we wouldn't be here, and they appreciate that. They don't take it for granted, and I see that with BTS on stage. And because I was so laser focused on BTS, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know the outside K-pop world. I haven't seen anything. Now I'm starting to see different type of content. My Instagram page is feeding it. I'm starting to understand why certain groups are so special, and it makes BTS like even more special to me now. Like the love for the fans, the concert that I've seen, I expect the other concerts to be like that too. Like the interactions, the crying when they're talking, like the emotions, right? When J-Hope is singing Mama, or you see Suga crying on stage when their parents are there, or they see the army screaming and they're crying, that, like, for me, the concert, it's, of course it's about the music performance, but when you see the emotions and like pure love of being on the stage and pure love for the fans and armies there, that's a big part of the performance too. The love for the fans, for me, that's like so special. Now I understand that it was special. That's one of the reasons why I love BTS contents too. And I've seen different groups now from the Instagram page. I don't see the love for the fans, and it just completely cancels. No matter how pretty the girl is, that girl group that I was watching, no matter how amazing the performance in the song was, the concerts, the live performance was dead because they didn't love the fans. Like I could feel that.
More than anything else. However, when I started watching K-pop performances the same way I watch ballet performances, I understood. I don't judge an album for a musical the same way I would an album by a mainstream artist for mainstream audiences. It's okay if an album or singer for a musical is not nominated to Album of the Year or Artist of the Year at the Billboard Music Awards, because those categories are mostly about mainstream success and audiences. And sure, there are songs from musicals and K-pop that have gone viral, but forcing these arts into the mainstream music industry, especially as a whole, I believe is almost impossible today. The mainstream public has rejected the K-pop framework too many times for the K-pop industry to not get the hint.
Yeah. Now, have you guys like shown your friends different type of like other K-pop groups that might seem cringy? Because once you get into K-pop bubble, you don't see it as cringy anymore. But for some people who don't know anything, like you see those girl groups doing certain kind of moves, like the actions like this, and you show it to like a person who doesn't know anything about K-pop, they definitely think it's cringy. And it's like it's a genre, definitely. And I forgot about it because I'm in this bubble too now with everything that I'm seeing. But when I show my friends, like I would see a certain kind of female group that seemed really cool to me. I don't know, maybe it looked cute to me on like a TikTok, and I showed it to my friends. It seemed cute to me, but for them it's like it was cringy because I'm in the K-pop bubble now and they're not in it. So it's still from the normal people, the normies, for them, like normal K-pop acts still seem cringy, and it's like a genre.
So back to the original question, why BTS? Why did they actually become part of the mainstream music industry? BTS started slowly breaking into the mainstream music industry around 2017, and over the years, BTS has never denied being K-pop idols. But fans notice an artistic difference between...
We always do this, or it was just two interviews. She's looking at the reporter's soul here. V was looking at my soul here.
Breaking into the mainstream music industry around 2017,
he looks cute here.
And over
this
the
one,
years, BTS has never denied being K-pop idols. But fans notice an artistic difference between BTS and K-pop acts. Suga has mentioned that K-pop is not a genre, it's integrated content. Like I mentioned before, this integrated content contains visual, fashion, dance, and music. RM has also said that although we can be annoyed by the K-pop label immediately put into BTS, for him it's a premium label that guarantees a high standard of quality. These two quotes are used by K-pop fans to prove that BTS are K-pop. Othering them, like I've pretty much done in this entire video, goes against BTS's...
But it is good for the K-pop image too, if BTS is a representation of it. As we know, Like armies know K-pop and BTS is different. But for the normies, when you tell it's K-pop, like BTS is definitely the image of it. But that's good image for the K-pop though. Like if BTS is the one representing the name K-pop, that's the first name that comes up, that's definitely a good image for the K-pop as a whole.
Words. However, I believe these quotes are correct. K-pop is integrated content that I know will come with high standards of quality. Sometimes I watch performances by new, unknown K-pop groups and think, although this song won't make me a fan, this choreography, fashion, and visuals are way better than most Western boy bands and girl groups. Even my favorite Western girl group doesn't synchronize like that. Like RM said, this quality is ensured in K-pop. That's what the training is for. This same quality of dance, fashion, and visuals is expected from BTS, and we see it all the time. So yes, just like the best K-pop performers, BTS has those factors in the back. They started in the K-pop training system to be part of the K-pop industry, but now they are more than what they trained for. This is extremely unusual because, like I said, the K-pop performers would have to break the K-pop framework that created them. But weirdly, BTS has done this in many ways, since pre-debut through their entire careers. The first BTS members had songwriting and producing abilities that K-pop labels were never looking for. These abilities related to music creation, plus the K-pop training system, made them the artists they are today. On the other hand, other members of BTS had performing abilities. But now, with the permission of their label and the inspiration from the composers, they are full.
I didn't think about this much too. They had their own type of interest as an artist to wanting to create something individually, and then they got introduced into the K-pop training system. So their individual interests collaborating, mashing together with the K-pop industry training, they still have their individuality with the certain skill they had prior to their training.
On artists. For example, the Taeyeon that debuted in 2013 as a good performer, it's not the Taeyeon today, a musician and lyricist. The Suga that debuted in 2013 as a good songwriter and producer is not the Suga today. A performer and entertainer is strong enough to carry by himself an entire show-stopping tour. When you have not just good.
But isn't that interesting though? There's like a storyline with the BTS as a group as a whole and as a performer. They are changing throughout the timeline. They're becoming, growing as an artist. They're growing as a person. They're becoming and maturing. And as that happens, their music taste is also going to change a little bit. And they're going to find different type of music they want to have. They with different type of performances. For me, that's like the exciting part too. If a story is the same, when you're reading a novel, it's the same thing. When you're reading a webtoon or a manhwa, like it's the same thing throughout the whole thing. I don't know. Now, one excitement, the changes happening for the characters. And BTS, you see the changes they had, such a completely different artist. And that change is happening while we're watching it live, experiencing that. The dopamine hits you get from the change in the story, it's amazing. And then you see like the certain examples that she gave of certain idols have to be in this image forever. Where is the excitement in that? It might be fun for a year or so, but you think, oh, that person's gonna be the same way that way, and it seems fake now. It's like, of course they got to be changing as a person. Of course they're going to be going through some type of life changes and maturing a lot more. They got into a training system when they're 18. The interests when you had when you're 18 and 14, as if now when you're older, you're a different person, right? You had jobs, you had husbands and wives, girlfriends, you went through life major changes, your parents have passed away, and that made you grow as a person, and your music and your image has to change. You can't still be the same person as you debuted. And when you're staying stagnant as a viewer, there's no excitement to it. There's no change in the plot. There's no character development.
Hey, if you want to watch full uncut reactions, click the link in the description for Patreon. Sometimes I have to edit the video a little bit, like I'll add a black screen or I'll change the audio a little bit. So if you want to watch full uncut, unedited video, click the link in the description for Patreon. Plus, you get added benefits like exclusive song reactions. Sometimes I'll react to albums, I'll react to concerts and eliminate 1 or 2 songs, which will be exclusive on Patreon.
amazing performers who perform, and musicians who compose, then it's understandable why after a few years, they all become full-on undeniable artists. To do this, all the members and the K-pop label itself had to break the K-pop framework in which they were born. They didn't leave the industry completely because they still do the integrated content essential to K-pop. But BTS did break the rules, the artistic rules, whether it was because their label allowed them to, or because they were not welcome in the K-pop industry and were forced to look outside the framework, or because the members looked at each other and were motivated to become full artists, or a combination of all of these circumstances. BTS did break everything. They did the unexpected. They grew not just as performers, but as artists. So just like K-pop, BTS has larger-than-life music videos, but they are the reflection of the members' ideas and situations they came up with or are going through. The videos are their artistic expression. Just like K-pop has defined K-pop concepts, BTS has concepts as well. They are just not the typical cute, sexy, badass K-pop concepts. They make conceptual albums. They do, not their label. Their conceptual albums are their artistic expression. Just like with K-pop, BTS's intense choreography requires them to have backtracks, but imperfect raw vocals are maybe 98% of the performance. Their performances are their artistic expression. And unlike K-pop, BTS's music feels uniquely them. Sure, they put on a big show for their performances, but they get off the stage and you notice that they use music as their expression. There is never such a harsh and a strong disconnection between them and their music as there is with K-pop acts. BTS feel like people in their music and like artists in their everyday lives. Interesting, fun, and strong personalities are also part of K-pop, but they have to be compiled through multiple interviews and behind-the-scenes content. So, of course, fans fall in love with K-pop idols as well, but their personalities are not in their music because that is not their music. They didn't write it and they didn't choose it. Just like a performer sings, dances, and acts in a musical, a K-pop idol sings, dances, and acts in a K-pop show. Again, this is not about
Acts, right? And when you act, I think you're missing that core emotion, that raw emotion you see on stage. If it's not your own
this
emotions,
requires
that was
a
written by
high
the song.
level of talent and rehearsal. It's just that their music is not who they are. And no matter how complicated and detailed your definition of artist is, that is what BTS are.
And every time I watch Veracity Magazine videos, I feel like I'm just saying yes, 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 and I feel like a proud parent watching their kids have success, like being complimented. Like if you're a parent and you have your kid being complimented by teachers, you think to yourself, yes, yes, that's my son, that's my kid. That's what I feel like every time I watch Veracity Magazine videos.